What's going on, everybody? We're back for another edition of Dynasty Talk Podcast. We're here without Nate today. He's on baby duty, but I am here with Chris. Let the Wookiee win.
Oh, that was bad.
And,
Hello,
uh,
hello.
and we've also got we're also man. We're also in the presence of an undefeated team, 6-0 Malcolm Fly Society.
Live society, baby. What's going on, guys?
All right. Well, we're gonna go ahead and jump right into it. We got lots to talk about today, but we're gonna start with something a little different that we haven't done before, and that is we're gonna rank every team into tiers. And this is gonna go real simple. We're gonna do alphabetical grades A, B, C, D, and F, and then we're also gonna add an S tier, which is just above that level of in above that level of schooling. We'll just jump right into the S tier, and I'm gonna let Malcolm say the first S tier team.
Oh, it's got to be Live society, of course. Most points scored. Let's
Yeah,
go.
most points scored in the league. Two-time champion, I believe. I only remember one of those games specifically because the other one I have PTSD from. Um, but looking back, I mean, looking at your team, I should say, I mean, it's just looking awesome. Things have been working out. Players are healthy. I know you got to be excited about that. Chris, anything to say on Fly Society?
It's. I'm not thrilled to see them still at the top because we had so many battles at the top forever. But yeah, it's more the same thing from that team, except now instead of it being the running back powerhouse, it's wide receiver powerhouse. So yeah,
Still got
right,
some running
right, right.
backs, though.
I'm on Joe Buck Yourself's team this year. That's who I'm rooting for.
Wow. I mean, it's kind of hard not to root for the underdog, as this is the first time Joe Buck yourself and whatever team name he was during the last time he was in the playoffs. I believe it was Gronk and Myrari.
Yeah, I think it was.
Uh, so this is his first time in the playoffs in like 6 seasons.
Yeah, I think it's been since that first year, right? Or is it the second year? I can't remember now. Either way,
I believe it was the first year ever.
yeah. Either way, I'm sure he's happy his offseason moves have paid off, and now he's one of the other teams in that S tier that we're looking at. Is it's kind of hard to see anybody but Fly Society or Joe Buck yourself in our championship this year. It seems kind of
I
obvious that
mean,
that's where it's going to go.
his starting lineup is just so nasty, man. It's incredible what he has assembled over there.
Yeah, it has a lot of picks too. Just traded Damon Pierce for literally the kitchen sink of an entire team.
Yeah, so he's not only is he going to be great this year, he's got a lot of capital to be able to stay good for the future. So yeah, his patience has finally paid off. And now he's going to
I
be
mean,
one of those teams at the top that's going to we're all going to have to worry about every year for at least the next few years.
Yeah, I have to give him credit for being a pretty impressive GM this last season
Oh
too,
yeah,
because or last 2 seasons really, because he kind of started it about 2 years ago when he traded away his first round pick for Joe Burrow. And I had Joe Burrow, so I traded him Joe Burrow for his future first round pick. So he was without his future first round pick, but still found a way to get Jamar Chase as well. And I think that's pretty impressive. And that's kind of really the foundation of what his team has become too, is knowing he has that stack on top of having Derrick Henry, who of course he also traded for.
and a healthy Saquon and a healthy Nick Chubb. Something we've always
Yeah,
been afraid of. It's just now we're finally seeing why we've been afraid of it. We've just been lucky we haven't had to deal with it yet.
very true. Well, so obviously our second team in the S tier, as we said before, that's Joe Buck yourself. Chris already gave us the segue. Um, yeah, Joe Buck yourself's been pretty impressive all season. I think everything's just kind of worked out for him quite well. We said earlier that Fly Society leads the league, but he's only leading the league by about 11 points. Joe Buck yourself averaging 940 points I'm sorry, not averaging, but totaling 940 points on the season and only allowing 635 points, which is by far and away the lowest in our league. So he really hasn't had to play any competition at all either. Funny enough, Malcolm's also had the third lowest points scored against him as well, fourth lowest points scored against him as well. So really, Malcolm hasn't really had to play much of anything yet so far either. Kind of
But
surprising.
like when you're scoring, like me and him are scoring, though, it doesn't like that doesn't mean anything.
No, it
Because
doesn't.
we're
It doesn't.
outscoring anyone
It
in
doesn't.
LA.
Yeah, but it's just something to consider. It doesn't really matter. You're right, and for that exact reason you just gave. Yeah,
It's more or less just for seeding, but the way this season's going to go, you both are going to be top of your division, so you're both going to have
yeah,
the easy path regardless.
agreed. Well, that should take us right to A tier, and I don't have an order for this at all, but let's just go ahead and start with the former champion. We're adding the former champion Tom O'Doherty Rules is his team name now. I believe last year the champion's name was Tom Foolery. He is in at 794 for the season so far. 747 scored against him, which has resulted in a 3-3 record. So yeah, he's the third highest scoring team in the league, but is 3-3. So he's doing okay. It looks like he's probably going to be in the playoffs no matter what. But it doesn't look like he's really playing as well as I imagine the third highest scoring team in the league should be looking.
Yeah, it's one of those. It's just kind of. I know we've had that happen before with other teams. Sometimes it's been my dad's team. Sometimes it's been me. But yeah, for whatever reason, you just kind of catch bad luck. And I don't. I think Tom's. I actually need to look. I think he's had a couple big weeks. He just had a couple unlucky weeks where he's been low. But like once again, man, that team hasn't changed a whole lot from last year. The potential to beat anybody is still there. So it's not like that's a team that all of a sudden like, oh man, there's no way he's gonna win it. It's, yeah, that team gets hot in week 15, it's gonna be trouble.
Like I think the first tier with me and Fife, I think that tier there's a big drop off at least right now until we get to this tier.
Yeah.
And the tier that we're in now obviously can still win it all. Like I think all the teams
Yeah.
that we have in this tier are good enough to win if they get hot or if things bounce their way. It's just right now where things are currently like at, there's just like I said, it's just a big drop off from the first tier, and that's kind of where Tom's at right now, especially compared to last year when he was just running away with the
Yeah.
league.
Do you think a big reason that he was running away with it last year, and the biggest difference I should say, is Justin Herbert?
I think it's because my team was out of it. No, I mean yeah, his team's underperforming.
Well, I mean,
Justin
as
Herbert.
you said before too. I mean, Tom was scoring the most in the league by far and away last year. I mean, your team being out of it wouldn't have changed that.
Well, I mean,
I'd like to think differently.
yeah. And I think Tom, part of it this year is Dave Montgomery was banged up. Austin Eckler had a slow start. Jonathan Taylor's been hurt. Like some of the people that were really carrying him last year haven't been what they were last year. So that's part of it.
Well, Jonathan Taylor did play 3 full games before getting hurt. I just want to throw that in there real quick.
Yeah,
During those 3
he's
games,
3-3 though.
yeah, I'm saying you're right. Yeah, and during those 3 games though, Jonathan Taylor had 25.5, great start, 6.8, and then 10.6.
Yeah.
Before getting hurt after actually playing a lot of that game, but still had 20 carries in the game he got hurt. So he played a lot of it and only had 42 yards and had a fumble.
Yeah. So I mean, it's just his heavy hitters from last year aren't hitting quite as heavy. Doesn't mean they're not going to.
It's a different team. No Carson Wentz on that team now. That might have messed with the chemistry for sure.
Well, and like I mean, I always try to look at it as you kind of break the season down into like 3 different groups, and like yeah, he's middle of the road this act, but that doesn't mean he's gonna stay that way. Teams, I mean, we all know things change so quickly.
Agreed.
Injuries, bye weeks start hitting, and you can't. Yeah, this is the tough part of the year where people actually have to like fight for wins every now and again, unless you're fight for Malcolm.
He's got a lot invested into the Chargers and a lot invested into the Colts, both teams that have both underperformed significantly this year. Just throwing that out there. Let's move on to our next one in the A tier, and that would be your dad. That is my ball, Zach Ertz, 758.7 on the year, 4-2, having a pretty solid start, but has faced injury problems again already with James Conner. And then I believe had another injury that it's off the top of my head, but Cam Akers.
Cam Akers.
Cam Akers, devastating. Been
Yeah.
devastating. Javonte Williams is so
Javonte Williams is the big one, though. Yeah.
yeah.
And
Well,
what's
James Conner was. I think James Conner was probably better when he was playing than Javonte Williams
Yeah,
is.
no,
Just throwing that
I'd
out
agree
there.
with that, but
Well, I
I
think that's
just
the bigger one, but yeah.
yeah, I think long term, I just assume that Javonte Williams was going to have a better season, kind of thing.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's. But Cam Akers was devastating for him.
Yeah, really.
Especially since I was offering a lot of picks for Cam Akers at the start of this year, and thank God I didn't do that. So,
Yeah,
I
um,
mean, what's your dad? Third or fourth in scoring? Fourth overall right now in points scored.
I
Is that
he
right?
is fourth.
believe. Yeah.
Yeah, he's fourth. He's
So
got
I mean,
he's got me by 13 points. He has me by 13.
his team's still scoring,
Mm-hmm.
which is good even with all the injuries. And like I said, he's a contender. He's still got a good team. You go down his roster, you're like, yeah, I like that. Josh Allen by
Yep.
himself is like terrifying as someone who's gone against him. That's not fun.
Well,
There's just nothing fun about that.
yeah, and that team we've always kind of said, oh, they were either young or they're hurt, but like he's just always had such an awful quarterback, regardless of who he's tried to be. They've never worked, and now like he's dropping 30+ points a week. It's like, yeah, now all of a sudden we see the potential that he was missing, and now the Javonte Williams thing's crushing, I think, but with what he has, he can still, as long as Cam Akers gets put on a team and they let him play, um, he still has a chance. But yeah, like you, like the receivers are. His receivers get kind of shaky, but once again, there's a lot of potential points sitting there. If Green Bay figures it out late in the year, the Allen Lazard one, I think, and the Terry McLaurin one is less than probably hopeful.
That's tough.
But
That's tough.
but once again, like a lot of time left. Things could change. That team's still sitting there, kind of waiting and there's still time to make trades and moves. Who knows? But yeah, I think it's not quite on that tier, but it's right where it needs to be.
I'm with Malcolm what he said earlier too. I think any of these teams could probably
Yeah.
jump into the S tier, maybe by our next podcast, even depending on things that happen. So
Yeah.
there's players on his team like Terry McLaurin that if he starts going off, might change my opinion. If I see more
Oh,
out of
yeah.
Christian Kirk from what I saw in the beginning of the year, and we get more of Jalen Waddle, I might start talking about this team more again. And I already think Etienne's becoming more and more valuable every week.
Yeah, he is.
So I think him holding on to Etienne was pretty smart. Well, I'm moving on to our third and final team of the A tier, and that is my own team, and that's Potent. Fifth highest scoring team in the league, 745. Had a ton of points scored against me, 747. That is the
That's
third
cute.
highest points scored against anybody.
That's cute.
Yeah, I am 3-3. So I'm not really in trouble of anything, but I am playing Tom this week, so that could easily be 3-4.
Yeah,
But yeah,
that's an interesting matchup. I'm excited for that one.
Well,
We'll talk about it later, though.
it's your team. How are you feeling about your team right now?
Yeah.
Especially after the start you had when I think you started 0-2, right?
I believe I did. Yeah, 0-2, I believe. I think I'm on a 2-game winning streak now. I got to go back and look to see if I was actually 0-2. However, to answer your question, the first question, I'm not feeling good, and I've been panicking a little bit since I saw Aaron Rodgers' first couple of games of the year. Because again, that's a staple of mine is knowing that I have my quarterback down, and he's bailed me out of some jams, and I've stayed loyal to Aaron Rodgers because, I've been burned before by not starting him and having a backup quarterback. So all this last 3 seasons where I've had all the success, I've kind of rested it on his shoulders as my quarterback, and I felt very worrisome at the beginning of this year. Hence a Trevor Lawrence trade and offering up Rondell Moore, and that's hopefully going to put me in a better situation, but I don't feel good about that either. So quarterback, it scares me, and that makes me worry. The rest of my team, however, I wish I could say I'd seen more out of certain wide receivers such as Garrett Wilson and Drake London. But besides that, the rest of the team I'm pretty impressed with. And I like the trades I've made recently with Ezekiel Elliott, picking up him for almost nothing, although I did trade Wan'Dale Robinson. And then also picking up Miles Sanders for a first-round pick. So I did like that trade as well.
Yeah, I think the moves you made here have made your team better for sure. And yeah, I mean, feels like I'm just kind of beating a drum, but yeah, I mean, the running backs that you've got now, you kind of the Damian Harris thing has played into your hands, but you've got the depth, man. You've got some people getting healthy, like DeAndre Swift, who was a monster for the first couple weeks before he got hurt, and Miles Sanders has kind of proved me wrong so far. So if only DJ Moore had someone to throw him the football, you could be jumping into that top tier too.
And time and time again, DJ Moore has proven, despite how bad it looks in Carolina, that he's going to get 1,000 yards. So I feel like in the back of my pocket,
this might not
he
be
is
the
not
year
going to get
though.
1,000 yards this year, but he's probably going to get a lot closer than I think we think is ever be possible after looking at it.
I don't know how. Like
he's got about 230 yards right now. So I mean, really, he just needs a couple of big games possibility.
But that's what I'm saying. Like I don't see it. Like that situation's not getting better. Especially if they trade McCaffrey too. Yeah, if they trade McCaffrey, then then I really don't want any part of it.
Oh man, yeah, I don't know, man.
I'm with you though. DJ Moore's a stud. He's a stud, but it just that shit sucks, man.
And if he doesn't play this year, I really don't need to play him, and that's really what my drafting was pretty solid. Drafting Alec Pierce, I felt good about him when I drafted him too. I actually drafted him in a bunch of redraft leagues as well until he got hurt. I dropped him, so I was pretty high on Alec Pierce from the beginning, and I finally get to play him, and I finally get to feel good about it. I feel like his targets are just ridiculous. So
yeah, no, he's one I thought pretty highly of that I contemplated taking, but kind of made the mistake and passed on him is the way I see it now. But yeah, I think the young guys you have look promising. Although it looks like Zach Wilson hates Garrett Wilson, so maybe there's only enough room for one Wilson on that team.
Yeah, well,
Zach Wilson wins though.
Yeah, and Zach Wilson wins games. Yep. And
he's a winner.
And Elijah Moore apparently hates being a Jet too. So
yeah.
They keep running the ball because Breece Hall's pretty damn good. Might as well keep.
Corey Davis loves him though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that finishes the A tier. We're on the B tier. How do you guys feel about these B tier teams, real quick?
Why don't you say
why don't you say them so I can remember who they are?
We'll start with the, I believe it's the 6th highest scoring team. No, they are not. We're starting with the 7th highest scoring team, and that is 2 teams, 1 cup, new league, new Rick. Totaled 696 points on the year, 4-2. Scary team.
Yeah, it's like it's just waiting in the shadows to attack. It's like, I mean, we talked about it a little bit earlier. That team has done a pretty good job scoring points and is 4-2, and now all of a sudden DeAndre Hopkins comes back. Now Keenan Allen's going to get healthy. Now Dameon Pierce is starting to roll. Like, that team is going to probably get a lot better in the next 6 weeks.
Yeah, Kyler is only throwing to DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah, like that's the only person he's throwing. Every time I look over, I'm like, oh, it's DeAndre Hopkins again.
Of course, I'm facing Ricky this week, so it's not enjoyable to watch. No, his team's good, man. I mean,
and now Dak's back too now, but Kirk Cousins has been fine. But sorry.
Like his problem's depth, but his just starting lineup when he's got all his best people in, like that's a good team, it's a really good team. So he's got the potential, no injuries and anything, to definitely obviously get the playoffs, and if things shake right for him, like get real funky in there. So, this is where that tier is there's still teams that should be thinking that they can still win it all.
Yeah, well, like his team, the position he's in, that first championship I won is very similar to like where he was sitting. Like it just felt like I was getting lucky to kind of win a couple. Not that he's getting lucky, but like it just felt like I was just scratching and clawing. Then all of a sudden, everything just happened in the last like 2 weeks of that year, and that was the beginning. So yeah, there's no reason any of these teams can't all of a sudden get hot and then bam.
Yeah. I have to agree with that too. I think he's the highest of a B tier can possibly be.
Yeah, yeah, he's as close to the next tier up as that tier is gonna get.
Yeah.
Yeah, if he just scored a little more in the first
Yeah,
6 weeks, he'd be there.
and Lavis because he's been missing two of his superstar receivers for most of that
Yeah.
time.
Well, that takes us to the bottom of B tier. Is that what we decided for Valyrian Steelers?
I don't know. It definitely in the B tier though. 'Cause that's another team, very little depth. Well, it doesn't seem like they've got a lot of depth, but as long as they stay healthy, that team's still got a lot of heavy hitters on it and people that are playing well. And if Najee Harris and the Steelers, I don't want to talk about the Steelers right now, but if they get better, it'll be fine. Jalen Hurts is way fucking better than I thought he was gonna be. Like way better.
And his team honestly has this like kind of annoying ability to
Yeah.
just score just enough to win. Like you look at
Yeah.
that team sometimes, you're like, you know, what? Why is this team winning? And then you look up and it's like they've scored. He put up 125 points. I don't know, man. It's worked. It happened last year and it's continued this year, and his team's better. So
I agree with everything you guys just said. I think he's got a lot of potential. He's obviously done really well with what he's got so far. I don't think he has a lot of depth. I don't like his depth, at least, is what I mean.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think he's got what it takes to rise himself out of B tier. And I think that puts him in jeopardy. I don't think this year he has really any chance of winning the championship for that exact reason.
Well, that's if
Um,
his team stays exactly the way it is. People still have, and that's something I'm curious. This is the most trading we've seen in this league ever. So when we're getting closer to like trade deadlines and stuff, I'm curious if anybody's going to make a big move to try to make a push. But we'll see.
yeah,
But that's a
I
team
haven't
that's a
seen the Valyrian
perfect
Steelers
perfect
active in free
candidate for
agency.
that. That's a team that if they make a big move and add someone, all of a sudden, yeah, people need to be more worried about that team.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, I haven't seen him make any moves, so I'm not exactly sure.
Tyreek Hill. I mean,
Yeah, I,
No,
he
I'm saying
got.
I haven't seen him make any moves in free agency like at all this season. So
Well, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about making trades.
yeah, I know that's fair. All right,
But
well, unless you guys have anything else to talk about Eric's team, which was I already forgot his name, Valyrian Steelers. I don't
yeah,
know how I forgot that. Let's see, we're in C tier now, and C tier we decided was I'm already forgetting. It was Team Young Cats, which is Julius and Bill, who is
Reefer
Reefer Madness.
Madness.
And those are our two teams in the C tier. Reefer Madness, I mean, I like a lot of aspects of his young players. I actually think he got really good in the draft. Got a lot better in the draft, I should say. Kenneth
yeah,
Walker, I think.
like not to cut you off, but like his draft was pretty great actually.
Yeah.
Kenneth
Yeah.
Walker's a fucking stud.
Well, Traylon Burks has not been impressive at all, and he
No.
drafted him high. He had draft capital, and
I
he did
I
bust on one of them. I feel
I
like.
try to remind him as much as I can that he could have taken Jameson Williams, he could have taken Garrett Wilson, he could have taken Drake London, he could have taken Chris Olave.
Damon Pierce, we all could have taken Damon Pierce.
Well, I'm just talking about receivers, if that's because
No,
I
I
think
know,
his running back choice worked, but I'm just saying like
I-
all those guys feel like a better choice now.
yeah, Olave and Drake London for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll move on because I don't want to go through the whole draft again. But yeah, Kenneth
yes.
Walker. I think Kenneth Walker was a hit, and things just work out. The
Yeah.
stars aligned for
Yep.
Kenneth Walker as well. And I always thought, I think I told you before the draft, if Kenneth Walker was there, I was going to take Kenneth Walker.
Yep.
Nothing else mattered. I didn't care if Drake London was there or Chris Olave was there, who were my two higher players higher than all the other wide receivers at least. And Ken Walker was my guy, and he looks like he's
Lucas, what pick were you in the draft? What was your first pick?
5. I had 5 and 7. I got Drake
yeah,
London at
that's
5. Yeah.
That's why I traded out of 4. Was I wanted Brees Hall or I wanted Kenneth Walker, and I kind of realized neither of them were going to be there, so I was like, I got to get out of that pick.
Yep. You could have had Damon Pierce and then just to set up though. Yeah, but nobody knew that. It wasn't going to happen. But yeah, going back to this team. Depth also a problem and a concern again though, but I think he has the ability to move into B tier. I'm not so sure about the other team we just mentioned. I think they could actually probably do it, but it's probably a little bit more of a long shot. But this team, like, if Edwards-Helaire gets back on path, I mean, if we really see enough out of Kenneth Walker to make us think that he's elite, I think that could really carry his team. And Devonta Smith has been kind of flaky, but has had some really good games. And if he kind of things work out with him, Rashad Bateman just came back, or is about to come back, I should say. So he's got some players that have some elite talent.
That, and then he's got old Brian Robinson might run away with that backfield here before the end of the season.
And he's still got Kyler. Like, I don't like Kyler because I've had him the last 2 years in redraft leagues. But when Kyler's right, like, Kyler is league winning at times.
Yeah, I'm still waiting on that, but I'm hoping it's coming soon. But Julius's team, I mean, his team was it's kind of fascinating because I mean we knew this team was horrible when he took this team over. Like I mean it was they had players like
I don't think a team with James Robinson, Mike Evans, Alvin Kamara, and Tom Brady is terrible, or J.K. Dobbins.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Sounds like a much better team.
They had Lawrence too before they gave him.
That's right. He did have Lawrence. That's right. Breece Hall has looked fantastic, obviously. So that goes without saying. I think
deservedly the first overall pick.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, he's got pairing him up with Alvin Kamara. I mean, he's got enough to win just with those two players alone. And if James Robinson gets right, and they figure that out, and he becomes effective again too. I mean, there's a three-headed monster kind of a little bit there. So,
and if J.K. Dobbins just gets healthy,
I'll believe it when I see it. I still
haven't I'm 100% with you on that. But I'm just saying, if he does, he's got Isaiah Spiller on his bench, who I don't believe he's even played a down yet. He has not. No.
He's 20 years old. Just thinking about that in the future is just good to know.
True.
But yeah. Duvernay's also on his bench. He's got both those wide receivers in Baltimore, and J.K. Dobbins for that matter, and Mike Evans, of course. Romeo Doubs, that was a good draft pick on his part. I think he's getting a lot of targets. So, I mean, I kind of like his team. I'm kind of rooting for him because that team hasn't been good ever. I think besides maybe 1 year out of Colton.
No. That's not accurate.
1 year out of Colton, right?
That's Jettlestad's.
Yeah, and then
I thought that was Joe's old team. My bad.
That's Bill's got Joe's old team.
Oh, okay. So yeah, that team's never won anything then. That's the team I'm thinking of. I apologize.
That team is far better than Joe's team ever was.
Yeah. So this team has actually been consistently very good. Matt Jettelstad and
the last two people have inherited a fairly good team. They've got this team.
Yeah. Cole had a really good year too. Didn't Cole have like a 10-win year?
Yeah, he had a good year and then fizzled out in the playoffs.
Well, he just started trading Eckler and all this other crazy shit.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of that either. But I take that back. Both these teams could easily move up to B tier. We could be, by next podcast, either one of those teams could be in the B tier.
Yeah.
So really not a far drop off as I thought it would be when we were first kind of talking about it.
Yeah.
He's not. Neither one of those teams is far away from Eric. Like we could be flipping them with Eric immediately.
I think besides the first tier, I think the other tiers are a lot closer. Like I think A tier, B tier, C tier, and through Z tier are closer than A is to S right now.
Yeah, that's probably fair.
Yeah.
Well, I think we just finished up the C tier. So we're on D tier. And I'm sorry, not D tier. Yeah, we were calling it D tier. We called it the basement. I apologize. The basement is what Chris said earlier. He wants to be known as the basement.
Or the dungeon.
So we're not giving out D's and F's. We're like the nice teacher that like does not finish instead.
Yeah, exactly.
So we got 3 teams in the basement, or did not finish. That is Team Trumpelo Bills. That is Let the Wookiee Win and Juju in Your Hoo Hoo. All 3 teams that I assume are probably not trying to win in the first place, but do want to touch on some of these 3 real quick. I'm gonna say that I think Trumpelo and Let the Wookiee Win are both probably at the top of this tier, and maybe Max now on the bottom because we kind of looked over this roster and thought that Max did a better job of kind of tanking his team or setting himself up to tank now with the most recent trades he's made. But I mean, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Chris Olave looking good right now as we speak during TJ Hawkinson, had one big game. Maybe we could see that again. Tyquan Thornton looked really good last game. Darnell Mooney looked really good last game. I mean, there's players on Let the Wookiee Win that kind of make it stand out among the other two.
I totally agree.
Yeah, from a features perspective, for sure. If we're talking 2020, what 2024, then
Yeah.
that team's way ahead of the other two. Um, but this year's, Chris knows it's not going to be
Nope.
enjoyable from a winning perspective,
Mm-mm.
but that's kind of not what this season's about for him.
Been watching a
Uh,
lot of college football this year. Watching a lot of
yeah,
college
you
football.
know, it's also just evaluating like who are you trying to move forward, who are you willing to trade.
Yep. Trying to
Um,
figure out who's the core and who's not. Yeah.
yeah, and what you want to do with all the goddamn assets you have. 'Cause
Yeah.
You've got what more assets than my team times like 10.
Yeah,
So,
I have 7 picks in the first 3 rounds next year, and then 6 in the first 3 rounds the following year. So yeah, I'm pretty set up asset wise.
Chris, let me ask you a question. Hypothetically,
Yeah.
if you were to win games and find yourself in third place, what would you be more upset about if that was the case in your current situation? That you would have that you would pick third in the first round or pick third in the second round?
Which would be more upsetting?
Yeah.
it's
I
gotta
mean,
be the first
probably
round,
the
right?
first round because I would like to pick first.
I mean, I would imagine so, but I mean, I feel like the drop off from the way the second round looked last year. I mean,
What?
like if you picked in the first 2 picks of the second round, I think you were like set. Like you could get like elite level players. It felt like in that position. So
Like George Pickens? Yeah.
like George Pickens, correct.
I mean,
And we all knew George Pickens was that good too. And not to mention Isaiah Spiller, who I think we were all pretty high on as well at the time.
yeah, we were all wrong though.
Yeah, we were.
How many downs again?
Yeah,
You played
exactly.
0 downs, I believe, sir.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, I really like the young guys I have on my team. I feel like my draft went well so far. I feel like most of my guys are trending in the correct direction. So,
Yeah.
and I've
Well,
got
Hawkinson's been trending in both directions, but yeah.
yeah, he's always like that. But it tight ends one of those is just hard to find the diamond in the rough.
Yeah, you're kind of like the Orlando Magic right now.
Yeah,
You've got these young pieces. You got Apollo. You
yeah,
got Franz. You know, you
I
got these
like
young
it.
pieces, and you're like, I like my core.
yep.
But this year is probably not going to be the year. We're
Probably
looking to
not going to
next
be
year,
great
really.
for us. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, only Lucas and Max might get this reference, but,
No,
well,
I totally got it. After losing to the Pistons last night and Paulo looking amazing, it was pretty bittersweet.
yeah, for sure.
That and I'm
2
getting
blocks,
I'm
2
getting
touchdowns,
absolutely
not 2 touchdowns.
oh. But yeah, so I'm also getting pounded in the points against thing. Like not even close, man. I've got 837 points scored against me. Who's second? Seven.
Well, I think I scored the most against you.
Yeah, you scored the most against me. My dad scored a shit ton against me. Everyone scored a bunch against me. So be prepared, Max. Biggest week of the year.
Well, Max is actually the second highest point scored against.
Uh-huh.
Kind of funny. Interesting. Okay. Well, moving right
And he's
along.
still like 60 points less.
Do you guys want to talk about Nate's team? I mean, I figure we're probably not talking about Max's team. There's not really much to talk about there, but
Both of these teams, Max and Nate, they've kind of decided that they've got to look towards the future. Fair enough. So they've sold assets and they're just trying to acquire like draft capital, basically. And their team roster suffered right now for it, and we'll see what happens in the next year or two.
yeah,
Like,
I
there's
think
a
Nate's
reason
got a
they're
Nate's got a
kinda in
solid
this
base.
tier. It's just, in my opinion, I'm not going to say which teams. I think some teams are doing it better than others. Like there's certain teams that I think have a little bit more talent and potential draft capital, and then there's other teams in this tier that like don't have a good base and might have the draft capital. We'll see what happens.
I mean, Max has got some draft capital,
He does.
so I assume that's what we're
So,
talking
so
about
does
there
Nate,
with all
though.
that
And,
code words.
and Max is usually pretty good in the first round with his picks. He's taking people that we were all kind of like, what? And then we're after, week 6, we're like, oh, yeah, okay, get it now. Like,
Well,
I
he
mean, I'll
drafted
never
Jahan
forget
Dotson as
Justin
well.
Jefferson.
Justin Jefferson and Jahan Dotson.
Oh,
But
yeah.
Jefferson's gone now, so.
Yeah. His trades have been his problem.
Isn't that crazy? 7 of the first round picks next year are me, Nate, and Max.
That's
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah.
I do not have any first round picks.
Yeah, what's a first round draft pick?
I remember when I used to sell those off for players in the hopes of glory.
Can't tell you the last time I had a first round draft pick. Dear God.
All right, well, that was our tiers. Let us know what you think in the comments below, like we do that or something.
Subscribe as well.
Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Let's see. I don't mean, what were we going to talk about next? I think we had something. I had something I was going to bring up earlier when I was looking at statistics, but I already forgot what it was. So we'll just do some water cooler talk, and we'll kind of wrap this thing up.
Yeah, I was talking earlier how we've got at least some interesting matchups this week. Like we have my dad and Ricky are both going against Fife and Malcolm. So you got the two teams who have made a lot of big acquisitions this offseason to get to that top tier, and they're going to find out if they're there or not.
I got a fun little thing we can do real quick. Malcolm, this is only for you and I. So looking at Chris's team, let the Wookiee win. Ready?
Okay.
You're looking at his team right now?
I will be in 2 seconds. Yeah, go ahead.
I am going to start the clock. You have 5 seconds. You're on supermarket sweep for one player on Chris's team. Go.
Oh, it's easy. It's obviously Detroit Lion receiver St. Brown. What are we talking about?
Damn, that took a lot to get out of you. I'm not sure they would have accepted it on a supermarket sweep, but I'll accept it. I don't know. Yeah, I probably agree with that. I was thinking maybe that or Chris Olave, one of those two. I don't exactly. I think I would pick Armon Ra though. I'm just totally bought into Armon Ra, and Chris knows that. I've discussed trading for Armon Ra so many times. And Chris is over here talking about sun god references, which apply to him because he works outside, as if he's the only person on the earth that works outside.
No, but like I must I must not get rid of the sun god. It's just too cool. It's too cool.
I think that's fair. Yeah, I mean, I thought that was kind of a interesting thing to do every now and then. Just kind of be like, hey, you got one player on that team, but you got to do it quick.
Yeah, that's easy. My team doesn't have a lot of great players.
I actually got hesitated on Jameson Williams as well earlier, but I did decide to do it. Cortland Sutton too. You don't think somebody would pick Cortland Sutton there?
Probably not.
I mean, I personally do not want anything to do with Cortland Sutton or any Bronco right now. So
yeah.
Or Russell.
I tried to get Russell. Chris was asking for the fucking King's ransom, so I said I'm not on that.
No, you offered me a 3rd round pick for Russell Wilson, and I just said no.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Like I was overpaying.
I didn't offer you anything. Yeah, but the thing is, I'd rather wait and cut him at the end of the year than give up a 3rd round pick.
Thought you had assets, man.
I've got. Yeah, no, I don't need yours though. I've got 2 before that one, anyways.
Well, I had something else to bring up, but I don't really think of anything else. I know we kind of briefly mentioned my game versus Tom this week, but I wanted to bring up that one more time just to outline as 3 versus 3. 3 and 3, both teams going against each other this week. The former Super Bowl of the Dynasty League last season, and we're both projected 50% against each other, 135.5 to 135.3. Should be a pretty nice game this week.
Yeah, that one will be interesting. It's just funny to see how an off season can change.
Winding up falling. Yeah.
Well, then,
I kind of like my chances this week too. He got some players back, but I mean, I don't think when players usually come back after being gone for a long time, usually it's not a big game, and I'm kind of hoping that's what I get out of Jonathan Taylor this week. So, yeah, Kyle Pitts against Cincinnati. I mean, we'll see. Michael Pittman going against Adoree Jackson. That doesn't sound promising for me or for him.
yeah, Max and I are in the toilet bowl this week too.
Yeah, that one is actually probably a game of the week, actually.
Dun dun
Oh,
dun
you
dun.
guys just gonna try tie?
Oh man, can we? Is that possible?
And I mean, it is possible because I've seen like memes about it before, like even on like, with the 2 decimal points even. But yeah, it seems highly unlikely because of the decimal points.
Hey, you never know.
In Chris's fantasy football league, Chris Sonoff, that is, Best Friends League, which I know Malcolm's also a part of, that would be very possible
Yeah, for sure.
because they don't even round up for whatever reason. It's the stupidest thing ever.
I remember when I was in that league that I was removed from the best friends.
Yeah,
That's so
I believe
long.
you were
That's so
replaced by
long
Mike
ago, though.
Kostrap. You were replaced by Mike Kostrap, who does not play football or does not play fantasy football. Yeah. Nice.
So
2 point
just
conversion for
my
Kyler
ass.
Murray. Right. Well, I guess we can wrap it up if we got nothing else to talk about.
Yeah, I mean that seems to have covered what's been going on in the league for the past few weeks.
Yeah, I don't really have anything else to talk about. I mean, I think it's obvious that our teams that are surprising us right now, I mean, they're not really surprises, actually. Like, it's just kind of surprising they've been able to remain healthy, I think.
Yeah.
And this is kind of what it looks like. And then there's been some teams that have been hit by injuries where others have really not been hit at all. So I think maybe 3 weeks later, we could be talking a little differently as far as injuries go. But, yeah, I don't really have anything else to talk about.
Yeah.
Well, I guess let's go ahead and wrap it up. Well, my name is Lucas. That's Malcolm. And that's Chris. And this has been Dynasty Talk Podcast. Catch you guys next time.
Peace.
Good day.